as people who say, I love Jesus, right? We are called to be the salt and light of the world. We are called to influence people. One of the greatest things I love about being a Christian is being a Christian, you don't have to believe and then belong. You can belong and then believe. Like the entire gospel is come follow me, belong, and then once you belong, the information will start to make sense and you can believe. Does that make sense? If you're with that, give me like a hand wave, a clap, an amen, or something like that. Okay, right? That's the beautiful thing about the gospel of Jesus Christ is you don't have to believe to belong. You can belong, and then belonging, belief comes next because we know how great Jesus is. So what we're doing now as Young Life team in the midst of COVID, a lot of our tools and a lot of the things we would normally do for Young Life have we've been handcuffed. We can't do club the way we want. We can't do companions the way we want. We can't do camp the way we want. We can't do anything the way we want. But what we can still do that is not handcuffed is we can still influence people and love people, and we can still invite people to belong even long before they believe. So you got in the mail this week, and if you get it, we'll make sure you get it this week, okay? You got a little card that says, who are my three? It has a little tree on it. It looks just like that, okay? I'm not going to show you my names just yet. Okay, if you have one, here's what we want to do as an area this year. Last month, we talked about our thread journals, and we talked about it again today, about making sure that we're good on the inside, right? That we have this vertical Jesus-God connection down pat. The next step we want to do is we want to talk about maybe we can't have 120 kids at Pioneer Wildlife. Maybe we can't have 60, 70 kids at Hutloff. Maybe we can't have those same numbers at Lake, Steilacoom, CP, Harrison Prep, fill in the blank, Capernaum, Young Lives, whatever, okay? But we can still be with kids. And what we want to do as a team right now is we want to encourage all of us leaders, to say this: who are three kids? That's it, three kids. 1, 2, 3. 3 kids. I have 4, okay? I overachieved. No, I don't. I just have 4 that I'm really close to. Who are 3 kids that you can say, I want to be in their world. I'm going to make sure that they know that they are loved, they belong, that Jesus is crazy about them, that I am crazy about them, that Young Life hasn't gone anywhere. The mission and vision and passion of Young Life is still here in their life, evident right now today. We want to make sure that we as leaders are still doing that, because even though we can't have club, and even though there are restrictions there, the fact that we get to invite kids along on the journey, there's no restrictions for that. And there's no restrictions to say that we can't have 3 kids to say, I'm going to target 3 kids to have a relationship with, to pray for, to spend time with, to go on a walk with, to mask up and maybe grab a Dutch Bros with and do that whole thing with. And we want to focus on saying we can't go big, but we can go deep. We can't go wide, but we can go really deep and focus our energy and attention on these kids. A couple more things, and we'll give some specific instructions on how we're going to do this. I was reminded of a verse as I was preparing for this, and it's Paul in 2 Timothy chapter 2, right? He's talking to Timothy. He's writing to Timothy. And he said, what you've heard me teach, entrust to other reliable people who are able to teach. Now, he's talking about raising up people for church leadership. We get that. But the idea that Paul, right, was a man who just loved Jesus, who said in Ephesians 1, I believe, Ephesians 5:1, follow me as I follow Christ, right? Ephesians 5:1. Paul, Timothy followed him. Timothy belonged, and Timothy believed. As a matter of fact, if you dig into that story of Paul and Timothy, that is a perfect example of a story where someone who just started belonging, they just started following long before he had his whole life figured out. And then Timothy and Paul hung out together to the point where Timothy started loving and leading and entrusting this love of God to other people and started inviting other people to belong. And really, that's the idea that we want to focus on with Young Life this year. Is we can't do all the big things we want to do, but we can go deep. So we want every leader to make a list of 3 kids that you're pursuing, that you're praying for. And some people have called this the leadership tree, You can call it whatever you want. The idea is that we're focusing on just 3 kids that we want to pour into, that we want to love. And we want to write their names down on this card. And we want to be praying for them. We want to be pursuing them. These are the 3 kids that we're saying when we are thinking about who can we spend time with, who can we have a socially distanced hangout with. These are the kids you're calling and you're texting first. When it comes time to say, hey, who are some other your friends that I should know, that I should be praying for, or maybe I'm hanging out with one kid. One thing I love to do is I'll talk to a kid, I'll hang out. And for those guys who don't know, I have a couple of guys. We do Wingstop Wednesday about every other month on Wednesday. We do Wingstop Wednesday. And sometimes those guys who've been doing it for about a year now, they'll invite some of their friends to come hang out just to just do it. Not during the COVID times, but prior to that. And it would sometimes be just random kids who I'd never met before would come hang out. And they'd be like, yo, you want to go get wings with me and Eddie? They're like, who's Eddie? They're like, cool dude from Young Life. Sweet, I'll go. Kids I don't even know. And I'm sitting there just hanging out, eating wings at Buffalo, not Buffalo Wings, but at Wingstop in the Lakewood Town Center with a group of guys just because we're hanging out. And we actually did it last month. We did Wingstop Wednesday. And we had some of the deepest, realest, most honest talks. We got our wings from Wingstop in the town center. We walked over or drove over to the elementary school. What is it? I always forget the name of that elementary school right there by the Young Life office. We sat at the picnic benches in the elementary school parking lot, and we ate wings, and we talked about life, and we talked about Jesus. And those 2 guys that I do Wingstop with are 2 of my 4 guys on my list. So we want every single one of our Young Life leaders to say, hey, who are 3 kids that you're praying for, 3 kids that are in your tree? And in addition to doing this, these are kids that you're pursuing, that you're loving, that you're saying, I'm going to go after you and I'm going to show the love of God to you. And then also